This is MIA2K Podcast, and we are your ticket from Miami to Seoul. We are your pilots, Kathy and Laura, two fun-seeking girls with obsessive fandom tendencies, taking you on a ride through the Hallyu wave from our perspective as opinionated, grown Latina fans from Miami.
Before we close the cabin doors, make sure you're following us wherever you listen to your favorite podcast. And if you like to watch, our in-flight podcast video is available on YouTube and Spotify.
Once we reach our cruising altitude, we'll be serving one thing and one thing only, piping hot tea. We're ready to fly into today's topic with our hot and sunny takes.
So fasten your seatbelts, sit back, relax, and prepare for takeoff. Hi, guys.
Hi.
So this week, we're coming at you with a very special episode because it's our season 3 finale.
Yay.
Today is also the 5th and final installment of our company-specific series where we deep dive into South Korea's entertainment agencies.
Yes, we want to remind you that these company-specific episodes might deal with delicate subjects like child labor, body autonomy, grooming, personal freedom, disorderly eating, body dysmorphia, and a lot of other serious and potentially dark topics. So please be alert to our content warnings to skip a section and also look at the description because the timestamps will also have content warnings for you.
And this episode is a doozy, so just so you guys know. So with that said, today we're going to focus on some smaller companies that we think are important to cover for different reasons. We want to say before we begin to please keep in mind that these companies have a lot less information available about them. So we always try our best to differentiate between facts and opinion, but sometimes this can be hard, especially when there's less resources available. So if we make a mistake or misspeak, just let us know.
Please, please, please. So like Laura said, we're going to talk about a lot of small companies, but before we jump into that, we wanted to give a little bit of a update / just talk about these things very briefly. So the first thing is we did an episode on Starship Entertainment, which is the company that manages Monster X, Gravity, IVE last year. And Starship definitely watched our episode, and you should too, because they really got their shit together after that. Because obviously, in order for the members to sign back with them, they had a bunch of stipulations and things that they wanted the company to do for them, including things that we asked for, like creating content for them. So now they have their variety show that they've had for a few months, and it's getting all the views and it's doing all the things that I said it would do. Duh. And also they got HyunA on Inkigayo for a little bit, and they got Juhan to host variety shows so they could get that money. And you know, now Juhan's going to the military and HyunA is going to be touring with Shonu, so they'll be busy doing different things, but it gave them a lot of exposure in the challenges and on all those things with the idols. So we're really glad that Starship did right by the boys because they deserve it. And then just as they got their shit together, they also clearly got a lot of time on their fucking hands because a couple of weeks ago, it came out that a Starship Entertainment manager is under fire for allegedly leaving shady comments about new jeans under Minji and Danielle's Vogue Korea and W Korea photos. Like, bitch, the time you gotta have on your hands and the stupidity you gotta have in your brain to be a higher up at a company and have that kind of behavior, I can't.
Bully literal children.
Literally.
For what?
Yeah. So she deactivated her account after that, but I'm just like, girl, you barely got the guys to sign back with you. Was like, bye. I'm gonna do my own thing with someone else because this shit is for the birds. I know y'all really are not gonna change. So anyway, that's the update on Starship. But again, you should still watch our episode from last year because I'm telling you, Starship took notes. So go watch it and find out how they were fucking up. And that was like our first angry episode, and it's very like cathartic. And I think if you want to be angry and like need to release some of that anger, do it with us. Anyway, next, Omega X. Now, if you don't know anything about this group, in the past year, they were very much at the center of a lot of controversy, not by anything that they did, but because their CEO abused them and mistreated them to the point where they were able to take their case to court and they were released from the company, which was at the time called Spire Entertainment. We're mentioning them today because we want you all to know that if you see a group coming out of a company called From Entertainment, so FROM, or in Hangul, it's written like Prom. Like, apparently they were signing trainees last year as the controversy was going on and as they were losing Omega X. So these are the same horrible people that manage them and abuse them. And we don't want to support that kind of behavior at all. even if the idols are good, even if the idol deserve it, they're going to end up being mistreated by this company. So we don't want to support them. With that said, if you see a From with 2 M's, that's not them. From with 2 M's is two things. One, an indie singer. So don't mess with her, like support her if anything. And also, it's like an up and coming app, kind of like Bubble. So more messaging services that are competing, that's also not the problem. The problem is just From Entertainment. They are the issue here. And then the last company that we wanted to mention before we jump into today's episode for real is Brave Entertainment, for being the actual worst and doing nothing with Brave Girls, even though they had the perfect momentum to like blow them up, but they didn't. Thankfully, the girls left them, and now they are with Warner Music Korea, and they have renamed to BB Girls. So if you haven't seen their social media stuff happening, please go follow them. Please go support them. They're having a comeback next month in August, and it's really important to help them. They really are talented. They fought to stay together and to keep making music for us. So they're really cute. We saw them last year in Miami. They came. So we know that the industry is so harsh and that it like takes such hard work. So we just really wish them success because they've been through enough. And fuck Brave Entertainment.
100%. And also they're older, they're flirty, they're here to get it.
Yeah, man.
Exciting.
Love them. So that's the mini update before we jump in, because we're about to get heavy into the upcoming companies. So we just wanted to mention those before. You're going to be shook. Your mouth is going to drop the entire time. So, but now we got the important tips out of the way.
So today we'll be talking about KQ Entertainment, Attrakt, RBW, P Nation, FNC, and Cube Entertainment.
Yes, we are.
So with that said, we'll start with KQ. So let us begin. This episode, we kind of split it. We each took different companies. So it'll be like a little bit back and forth. So sit tight.
You're going to see both of us finding out tea for the first time today, because it's like the other one is explaining the things to her. So you won't be alone being surprised. We'll be with you.
Yep. So KQ has always been super interesting for us because of ATs. We love ATs. So of course, we're going to find their managing company entertaining. So KQ was founded in 2016 as a management company before they debuted their first boy group in 2018 with ATs. They're a private company, and because they're private, they don't really have to provide records or accounts or anything to the public. So there's a lot less information about them. So music from KQ is distributed by Dreamist Company, which also distributes music for JYP, SM, and P Nation, among others. And they also have a partnership with Stone Music Entertainment for distribution. I don't know if you guys have noticed how sometimes AT's music videos are shown in their own YouTube account, but also Stone Entertainment's account. And from what I understand, it's just to kind of like help them get more views or whatever. So we're going to be talking a little bit about the partners that KQ Entertainment mentions on their website, which are CJ.NA, Sony Music, and My Music Taste. And the reason why we are going to do that, you'll see a little bit later when we talk about KQ scandals and controversies. So this is kind of like a little backstory, so you guys kind of know.
Sure.
So CJ.NA is the entertainment and mass media division of CJ. CJ is a huge Korean conglomerate company. Like, it's huge. Part of their media content includes TVN, which is home to K-dramas like Hotel de Luna and Crash Landing on You.
Yeah.
Their music content includes Mnet Music Channel, Mama Awards, Take On.
Damn.
And they also have other partnerships with entertainment companies like B-Lift Labs, which is home to Unhypen.
And we mentioned
AOMG,
them on the episode on Hype. So yeah.
Right. AOMG and Higher. I would like to also mention that KQ is not actually on CJ.NA's website, but CJ.NA is on KQ's website. So that's like a little weird.
Interesting.
So Sony Music and KQ started their partnership back in 2017. So that's pre-AT's debut. And they did it through equity investment. Equity investment is money put into a company for shares. So they just basically bought shares of KQ. KQ is at least linked on Sony Music UK's website, and it appears to be like a recent link because the link goes to AT's new website or app. I want to mention that because when I was researching, it wasn't that easy to find articles about KQ and Sony that were recent. Most of them were when they first joined hands in 2017.
Gotcha. Makes sense.
And then finally, My Music Taste is a fan-initiated live event making service that brings fans, artists, and promoters from all over the world together in one place to create a valuable and meaningful concert experience for everyone involved. So basically, from what I read, they just kind of gather data and share it with the companies and the venues and stuff to see where the artist would be most welcome if they wanted to go on tour or create content, that kind of stuff.
Sure.
It's like super random. So KQ Entertainment is home to ATEEZ, Maddox, and Zykers.
Mm-hmm.
And one of their subsidiaries was formerly managing Block B. The reason why I gave a little bit of like a backstory on their partners is because when I was looking into KQ, the biggest controversy surrounding KQ is KQ a small company? When you research KQ and small company, you will find like a bunch of Reddit and like Quora articles where like fans ask literally the same question over and over and over and over. So like, what's the big deal? Why do we care? And the reason why we care is KQ always has had this narrative around them that they're a small company battling it out to make it in the industry, and ATEEZ is leading their way, and they're going from this tiny little company to like this huge company that will grow and have more groups or whatever, with ATEEZ being what's bringing them to like the forefront of K-pop.
Right.
A lot of people are annoyed also by ATEEZ, like I would consider rapid rise within the K-pop industry. And they kind of use the fact that they have partnerships with these bigger companies to undermine ATEEZ's trajectory. They also say that because KQ used to manage Block B, which used to be a pretty big group in South Korea. Ziggo was part of it. I think is still part of it. They kind of just use all of this to say, well, ATEEZ didn't really work hard. They had all these people with money to make them popular. And like, you'll see there's countless articles and like it's all crazy and back and forth and you're stupid and blah blah blah. And
normal K-poppy behavior online.
Literally.
Just girly things. Yeah.
Literally. And some aunties, I don't know if you guys know this, but ATEEZ was part of the Kingdom reality show back in 2021. And a lot of aunties were saying that ATEEZ was doing really well on that program because they have ties to CJ E&M.
Right, because they produce all the stuff. So
right. Yeah. So they're like, oh, of course they're doing well. When honestly, like if you see the stages, they just did well. Like, sorry.
Period.
So KQ basically said that, well, with all of this, the only thing that they cared about was people saying that ATEEZ was getting better treatment because of whatever partnership. And basically, KQ said that they would be filing a defamation lawsuit against Post, damaging KQ and their artist reputation, and that they partner with many domestic and foreign companies, but they operate independently. So again, just because they partner doesn't mean that CG E&M owns part of the company or anything like that. However, we will never know, or we won't know for sure because they're private, so they don't have to say anything. Right. And honestly, people need to chill the fuck out. I think it's very obvious that KQ has tried to bring the best possible environment for ATEEZ and Psyker. From the very beginning, partnering with Sony before they even debuted ATEEZ shows that they were trying to make sure that ATEEZ had all the available resources to them to be able to succeed. And if ATEEZ wasn't such a great group of talented people, they wouldn't have made right. Even with all the backing, it still wouldn't have mattered. Like it really just, they're talented, and that's why they've been able to take the resources that they've had and excel.
Do something with it. Yeah.
Right. Because I mean, if you look, ATEEZ debuted with a music video where they were in Morocco. You don't really usually see groups from small companies having such elaborate music videos for a debut. But again, if the songs had been crappy or they have had zero charisma, it would have just flopped.
Yeah, it wouldn't have mattered if they were on the moon. Like, it wouldn't have done anything.
Right. And if you ask me, Is KQ Entertainment a small company? I would say if you compare them to like Big Hit, JYP, SM, YG, they are. However, when you compare it to some of the other companies that we'll be talking about, I'd say they're about the same. So like I wouldn't consider them a small company. I'd consider them maybe like a mid-sized company at this point, just because of the amount of success that ATEEZ has gotten internationally and in South Korea. What do you
That's
think?
fair. Yeah, I think all the controversy, like you said, from people just going back and forth in forums that literally have too much time on their hands, it's just stupid because, like, no one's taking the credit away from ATEEZ. Like you said, like, if they weren't as
Yeah.
good as they are, they wouldn't have made the splash that they did. So I think it's normal to kind of question things a little bit because it called our attention to, like, know
Right.
more about this. And it's just, I think transparency and honesty is best, which you don't get a lot from a private company. And this, like, CJ&M has a lot of power, like a lot of power, and that's undeniable. And I don't think they have to hide that. And they're not, because they're not hiding it from their website, but it is not listed on the CJ&M's website. So there's something that is being hidden, and that's what
Right.
is causing the issue. Because if they were open about it, I don't think the conversation would be happening in the first place. But I do understand that they're trying to prevent people from taking any credit away from ATEEZ that they rightfully deserve, because that's fucked. But now it makes sense. Like, we always knew that Wooyoung and Yosang were trainees at Big Hit, and they left and they went to KQ. And we always have heard that when a trainee leaves to another company, the new company has to pay out the old company. And the estimates say that it's like $3 million to equip a trainee to become an idol. So that's a lot of money. And a small company doesn't just have that as like chump change lying around. And so now we know maybe where the money was coming from. And that's
Yep.
fine. Like, there's nothing wrong with that. Good for them for being smart and getting the backing at the right time and having the money when they needed it.
Right.
Period.
And I mean, when you say hiding, it is kind of interesting that a lot of the articles that I found when I was looking for KQ Entertainment were talking positively about KQ, but in a way that makes them look very small. So they'll say like an article about KQ staff being like family members to ATEEZ, or KQ not as big of a company as you would think. So it was all like I said, there's always been this narrative, and
Yeah.
it's just, it's weird. Like what's, like
Yeah,
you
all
said,
I would
it's
say to that is, we talked about the really big companies that have investment and ties to Naver and Kakao. And
yeah.
those two single-handedly run communications in Korea. So
Mm-hmm.
if KQ can get help from CJ&M to control a little bit of the media, then so be it. Like,
Right.
it's a dirty game at the end of the day, and everybody has to play it. So suck it. That's what I think.
Honestly, I'm just glad we have ATs. They're so great.
Same. They're an amazing group, and they truly are committed. They truly deliver every time. So why shouldn't they get help where they can? Because that is a cutthroat industry.
And if you guys want to hear more about our opinions on ATs, we actually did an episode in our first season, I think it was, where we talked about why we love ATs.
Yeah.
So,
and our love has only grown since. So let us know if you want another episode on them, because we'll do it. You don't have to tell me to talk
100%.
about Hwa or all of them. I will talk about Hongjung till the cows come home.
That's a fun time. So with KQ Entertainment, some recent developments as of literally this week. Literally. KQ debuted their own app called Tok Tok on this Monday, July 17th. And the description reads, get the latest updates from KQ artists like ATEEZ and Psychers. So if you guys are 18, you know that back in April of this year, ATEEZ joined an app called B.Stage. I'm sure that's not how you read it, but whatever.
Yeah, like B-Stage, whatever.
Thank you. And this Tok Tok app is basically just B.Stage. I just like changed the name, like, because I downloaded the interface is exactly the same. The creators, or like the company, the tech company, it's the same company. Which I thought was super interesting, because B.Stage and Tok Tok were created by this company, or developed by this company called Be My Friends No Spaces. Their CEOs, they have two, are Steve So, which is a former CEO of Weavers. Yes, that Weavers. And Bryce Lee, which is a former CEO of Dreamers Company, which we talked about a little bit earlier, that they help distribute KQ's like music.
Yeah.
So I thought that was super interesting. Also, Be My Friend counts CJ Group as an investor. So it's like all like this arroz con mango, like
It's
everyone's with everyone.
Yeah,
honestly. And Dreamers Company is also an investor on this app, and the Dreamers Company is publicly traded, and the majority owners are SK Group, SM Entertainment, and JYP.
Here's the thing. We this is when we started teasing this episode. We were talking, I can't remember at this point if it was the Hybe episode or the SM episode, because that's when we're talking about the acquisition of the DRU technology company, which is what owns Bubble. Because the whole thing is that DRU acquired Universe, which was the company where Astro, ATEEZ, all the groups from like smallerish companies were using Universe up until January. And then they were told, hey, everybody's transferring to Bubble. And that's when ATEEZ was like, no, we're not. So if you heard us teasing and all that stuff about, this is why we were talking about it. And this is why we always want to talk about KQ. Because again, the smallest little company is not going to have all this funding to get an app and do things that basically it's like a white label app. It's not that they created it, but to do all these things that other companies don't have the resources to do. So clearly they wanted to compete with Weavers, which is the David and Goliath competition of the century, to like stand up to them and be like, we don't want to be on Weavers. We don't want to be on Bubble. We want to do our own thing.
But at the same time, if Dreamers Company is an investor and SM Entertainment is one of the majority owners, it's basically like all intertwined because SM has Bubble. Crazy.
But SM no longer has Bubble. That's the thing. That is the T.
Right.
That is the T. And that's where, and JYP too. JYP and SM have been using Bubble, but Bubble is going to Weavers. So they're basically saying we don't want to have all our eggs in one basket. And if we can compete with Weavers at some point, we will. So this is a T that like all the companies are not just getting along and taking it quietly in the background. And they don't want Hybe to own the world.
And honestly, I don't know if you've used B Stage, Kathy, but
I haven't used the app. I just go on the website.
I downloaded the app just because I like apps, and it has a good start, but it's still super, super, super clunky. It does have the same vibe as Weavers. I think maybe this week, actually, I started noticing that they like the little message bubble kind of messaging started. I joined the ATEEZ one because it was free with the membership.
Okay.
And it has like a great interface, but I don't speak Korean and there isn't a translation option within the app anywhere.
Yeah.
So anytime any of the members post, if I really want to know, I have to like go into a translation app, translate it, and then be like, oh, that's what he was saying. So it's kind of like clunky, but it's getting there.
I've heard AT&E not bitching, but saying since the app came out that it's unfortunate that there's no translations available, because that does, any time that you have to jump or like click on something to go somewhere else, it takes away from the experience.
Right.
So clearly they do have a lot of work to do on the development side.
And this app, just as a final note, isn't only for K-pop groups. This app is literally like you can start your own community pretty easily. It's not just for like famous K-pop groups or famous people in general.
Yeah.
Like companies and like other people can have it. So that's
interesting. But there is a reason why you won't be seeing MIA2K on B Stage or Talk anytime soon. Laura, care to share what happened this week?
So if you guys have used X&Bay and even maybe PayPal to pay for anything on a Korean website, check your credit/debit card statements as soon as possible, because a lot of fans have reported fake charges for purchases in Walmart.
And I just so happened to include Laura in that mix.
I'm one of them. So most of the people complaining have been people that have used X&Bay in not just B Stage, but also like even Weavers. So I was like checking, making sure. And then today I'm at work in a meeting and I get a text message. Is it you trying to make a purchase in Walmart? And I'm like, Walmart? Walmart? This Teams meeting is not a Walmart. Like, So just make sure you check your card statements.
Yeah.
Luckily, my credit card had a pretty good system, and it like the purchase didn't go through, but
Yeah.
still just check.
Yeah, we saw the news on Twitter with the people complaining mostly from B Stage's link to XMB and PayPal's link to B Stage as well. So if you're an 18 first and foremost, like any fan, like Laura said, but especially if you're an 18 who paid for the membership in April, like we did, go check, because I checked my card. I'm okay. But there's a bunch of people, Laura included, whose data was clearly leaked. It's been breached. So check your cards and make sure that you don't have a bunch of charges that are not yours, because it is racking up. And most of them happen to be from Walmart across the board from what we've seen on like Twitter from people sharing screenshots. So check your, I paid personally for the 18 membership with my credit card. So did Laura, because we both thought, like, we usually do things through PayPal when it comes to Korea, but we were able to do it with our credit card. So we did. And so check your credit card. If not, check your PayPal, because the activity also there has been shown to have some crazy charges, and mostly from Walmart. And that's KQ. So, well, thank you, Laura, for introducing us to KQ and bringing us all the tea. And guys, please let us know your thoughts on whether or not you think they're a small company and whether it even matters, because at the end of the day, we're all going to die anyway, and it's not going to matter whether the company was big or small. And that is your PSA. The more you know. No, this is a coping mechanism that has worked wonders for me. Don't worry about it. It's fine. So anyway, that was KQ. And now the next, as promised, is Attrakt. Now, guys, when I tell you, Laura and I have been talking about doing these company-specific episodes for months, since like January, February. We finally started season 3 in March. There's been all of bullshit and crazy things like happening, which is wonderful, because we've been able to drop the episodes with like a lot of up-to-date information that like literally no one else has in these exposés that they do on YouTube and stuff. So from the beginning, we wanted to do a small company episode for a couple of selfish reasons. Just like I wanted to start this just to shit on YG from the beginning. Like I just wanted to do an episode to shit on YG. I always wanted to talk about smaller companies, particularly to shit on a couple of them too. But in the document that we had from like just the early days of like, let's talk about it, I had put Attrakt because clearly 50/50. Okay, so if you haven't heard, 50/50 is a group that debuted in November, blew up. If you haven't heard Cupid, where have you been hiding? Because everybody has heard Cupid. And so because of that, at some point, I will get into the timeline in a little bit, but Attrakt signed with Warner Music. And I put it in the document as like, oh, look, they signed with Warner Music. They seem to be a good company who has their shit together. And the LOLs, let me tell you, the LOLs, looking back, my little notes did not age well. And so let's get into Attrakt right now. So Attrakt was founded on June 17, 2021 by Jung Honjung. This is the youngest company we'll be talking about today, because all the other ones have been established for a lot longer. This company barely just made 2 years. It's currently managed by co-CEOs John Hongjung and Che Sung-ho, and also maybe a third CEO. We don't know, because his LinkedIn says he's the CEO, even though he's not the CEO. But his name is Xian, or I believe that's how it's pronounced. It's SIAHN. And people in a lot of like reporting that they've done about the company say like 3 joint leaders, but like it wasn't supposed to be at the CEO level joint, but whatever. Xian's full name is An Sung-hyul, and you'll be hearing this name a lot. So just remember that name. Xian, or I will call him Xian because I think that's just easier to remember. Attrakt is a private creative production and content development group, and their distributor currently, as I mentioned earlier, is Warner Music Korea for global distribution purposes. Before Warner Music, they were actually linked to Interpark, and that'll come in handy in a little bit. So their groups or artists signed are 50/50. They also list the members individually. Their names are Sena, Aran, Kina, and Shio. And we're about to get into the controversy, so I need everybody to take a deep breath with me. Okay. So before we start talking about the controversy, which by the way, it's very long. And so what I had to do is do like a timeline of events, because literally when I tell you that every day something happens, every fucking day something happens. This company is entirely too young for this level of bullshit. Okay. So before we get into that, let's talk about the main characters and players that are involved. So the key players, as I mentioned, Ang Sung-il, HyunA. He's a CEO and producer for a small company called The Givers. He is known to have produced singers like Jaywalk, Eunji-won's solo career, Rumblefish, and more. Currently, his agency is also the home to Song Song-young, character number 1. Character number 2 is Jung Hong-jung. He's the CEO officially of Attrakt. He has managed artists including Cho Kwang-woo, Yang Soo-kyung, Bobby Kim, Yoon Mi-rae, hello, big name, and Ha Sung-won. Then we have Camp, which is a performance production company based in the US, like the Camp Fire
Like
Festival people.
Camp?
Oh, they have hosted several K-pop festivals. Ang Sung-il worked here as an employee in 2019. So the guy Xian from before him, yeah, worked there. And then we have 50/50. So let me tell you how they all kind of came together, and then we'll get into the timeline of events. So Hong-jung, the Camp CEO, and Xian, who was working for Camp at the time, met in 2019, and they decided to form and launch a girl group. Xian plus 2 Camp employees would produce, and Camp would manage the global strategy. That was the agreement, while Hong-jung was the CEO. In 2021, Hong-jung and the Camp CEO did not see eye to eye anymore on the strategy, so Camp pulled out of the project. But because Xian was working there, he basically talked to Hong-jung and was like, hey, I'm going to leave Camp and I can manage the global strategy because you already know me. Like, we don't have to transfer anything. Like, I can take care of this. So I will get out, start my own little shindig, and we'll take care of that. And Hong-jung said, you know what? That makes sense because you know the whole story, you know the tea, whatever. So yes. So Xian plus the 2 employees who had been dealing with the stuff from Camp leave, and they form the Givers. So this is the Givers that was mentioned earlier.
Okay.
Hong-jung at this point followed his lead and entrusted him with everything related to the members. From all the text receipts and audios that have been leaked so far, the Attrakt CEO seems to have had genuine good intentions-ish and was fully bamboozled by Xian and his partners in crime. So the recent developments. How long do we have, Laura? Please, because it's a lot. So in November of 2022, 50/50 debuts with their EP called The 50. It does really well. In January of 2023, while they're working on their upcoming music, because as we know, K-pop is churning away, Xian paid $9,000 to 3 students from Sweden who wrote a song, little known song called Cupid. $9,000, by the way, is nothing, but he paid them off with that amount, and that's how he planned to buy out their rights for the song. But it gets more complicated than that, but we didn't know the actual complication until literally 2 days ago. So just put a pin on that, on how he actually managed to buy the copyrights. February 24th of 2023, Cupid drops in Korean and English. Absolute banger. Has had us all in a chokehold. I literally mentioned it in our episode of the Year of the Girl Group because I was literally in a chokehold by Cupid. March 27th, 50/50 debuts with Cupid at number 100 on the Hot 100 Billboard list, which is a huge accomplishment. They are actually the fastest K-pop group to have ever done that. Like, they passed New Jeans because they have only debuted in November. So they're the fastest K-pop group to have entered the chart. Right? So in March, then, Xian submits a document for the change in the distribution of the copyrights for Cupid, moving 74.5% of the distribution from the 3 Swedish composers to himself. Noted, and this is important to note, one of the members, her name is Kina, had also participated in the songwriting of this song. And originally her credits were 6.5%, and he changed them to 0.5%. Okay.
So wait. So from February to March, the Swedish people were getting money, or not yet?
They got the $9,000 in January,
and that was it.
From everything that I've been reading, there was no royalties conversation here.
Okay.
So, and I'm sure because they were like music students and stuff, they probably didn't have backing or knowledge here. So
lawyers.
Correct. So April 1st, like I mentioned earlier, Warner Music Korea becomes the official distributor for global matters with 50/50, which at the time we were all paying attention. We thought was a good thing. And we thought, wow, what a smart move. Then in May, 50/50 is announced as part of the Barbie movie OST. Again, big news. Like, I remember our group chat, like, we didn't even stand like that, but we were just like, wow, this is so good. This is when shit starts going fucking wild. June 23rd, Attrakt accuses outside company of luring/poaching 50/50 members and explains their inactivity was due to a member having health problems and surgery on May 2nd. So 50/50 at this point, other than like news about them, was not very active anywhere. And the fans were like, what happened? Like, where are they? So at this point, the company reveals that one of the members actually had surgery on May 2nd, and they start kind of throwing stones that say there's an outsider that is trying to poach the girls. As soon as this shit started happening, I was like, is it Warner Music? Because Warner Music is like taking on a lot of groups that have been through shit. So like GOT7, BB Girls, and stuff like that. So it kind of made sense to me immediately to think maliciously. Also, you know, Laura and I are from Latin America, so we just like think maliciously anyway of when things are happening. We're just like, yeah, let's think about the worst possible case scenario because that's probably the truth. But at first, we didn't have a name. But then on June 25th, the Attrakt CEO pleads with the members to come back to Attrakt. And then the agency fully names Warner Music as the poacher who is trying to take them. Every single day something happened. June 26th, Attrakt claimed that it appears an outsourcing service company and Warner Music Korea are involved behind the recent case of an outside force attempting to extort a member. So now there's extortion accusations going on.
A member?
A member. And then Warner Music Korea, of course, has to respond. So they say Attrakt's claims are groundless, and we are regretful that they have sent us a certification of contents. June 27th, 50/50's fan cafe was shut down by an unauthorized external force. Shortly after, Attrakt shared a statement saying that while the fan cafe has been recovered, the agency is currently taking action. That same day, they said, we filed a criminal complaint against HyunA, the CEO of The Givers, and 3 others at the Gangnam police station. The alleged offenses included obstruction of business, fraud, and breach of trust. So at this point, the CEO is like, this guy fucked me over. So I'm going to take matters into my own hands and make this shit go public. June 28th, 50/50 released an official statement through their legal representative law firm stating that they filed for provisional disposition of suspending the validity of their exclusive contracts on the 19th of June, claiming that their agency Attrakt violated contract terms. So this is really big. Basically, at this point, the companies had just been fighting each other publicly, but now the girls came out, took a stance together and said, we want to end our contracts with Attrakt because they violated the terms. This is huge.
Yeah, they're one of the biggest groups at this point.
And they have the Barbie movie soundtrack. Like all these things are happening. So
many things.
It's a really, 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 really big step. Like, can't even say how big it was. June 29th, The Giver shared that they will take legal action against Attrakt and denied all allegations. July 3rd, 50/50's agency releases an audio recording with alleged intervention of external force. So Attrakt said, oh, you guys are going to call me a liar? No, not on my watch. So they actually recorded a call between the Warner Music Korea executive and the Attrakt CEO. In that conversation, the call basically went something like, so the Warner Music executive is like, yeah, so we were talking about like 20 million for a buyout. And the CEO is like, what do you mean? And the Warner Music Korea person is like, yeah, we talked to HyunA about this. And the CEO is like, I have no idea what you're talking about. What do you mean a buyout? And the Warner Music person is like, yeah, you know, that's the terms that we're talking about. Like, that's what you say about like us taking over, like a new restructuring for the label. And the CEO is like, what the fuck? Like, I knew nothing about this. So that recording gets released, basically proving that his claims were true. And Warner Music Korea was doing this in conjunction with HyunA. So The Givers literally backstabbing and doing everything behind the scenes. And Hongjung, CEO of Attrakt, is blindsided and has no idea what the fuck is going on. July 4th, 50/50 cancels the Barbie music video shoot and also appearances that they had scheduled. They were supposed to show up at KCON LA this year, canceled, and several endorsements that they were about to embark in, also canceled. July 5th, the trial began. The news comes out that the members of 50/50, allegedly aided by their parents, had filed for around 60 trademarks of their groups and stage names at the same time that they sued for their contracts to end on the 19th of June.
So you're saying that there's backstabbing coming from everywhere?
Everywhere.
Holy shit.
Everywhere.
This is better than a novela. Like,
girl, the Netflix documentary that needs to be made on these people.
Wow.
A lot. And then The Givers puts out a statement with some bullshit explanation about why the copyright changes for the song happened when they did. They're like, this was done before the music like went viral. This was done because the CEO clearly doesn't know the difference between like copyrights and neighboring copyrights. And this is what, what we did to make it easier to do remixes and other things later. So they're claiming that this was normal, that literally putting 95% of the copyright to Xi'an's name was the normal and the right thing to do. July 7th, the Barbie Dreams song by 50/50 featuring Kali is released. So the song did get out because it was already part of the movie. Also, should we mention that Warner Music is involved with the Barbie soundtrack and the movie? No? Okay, just, thought of little tidbit to add here. But yeah, the song does come out, even though the music video did not get made. On July 11th, TV Daily reveals that 50/50 received an offer to become ambassadors of a famous eyewear brand. And it was like the news said, like, we're willing to pay them New Jeans money. Okay. That's the terms that we're talking about. So that's huge. The Givers actually turned down the business opportunity, and the Attrakt CEO was unaware of the ongoing business deal talkings that were happening. So basically, the dude from the Givers left the country to do some shady shit, I'm sure. And the eyewear brand was talking to the CEO, and he's like, I had no idea what was happening. And they're like, oh yeah, we've been talking to this guy, but he keeps saying that you guys can't do it, that the girls are busy and that the girls can't do anything. So HyunA is literally pushing opportunities right now just to cash in on them later. Don't believe me, just watch. That same day, this news came out. So you remember at the beginning how I mentioned that Interpark was the previous distributor and now they have Warner Music? Mm-hmm. Because of that contract ending, it was published on the 11th that Attrakt and 50/50 are in position to get roughly somewhere between 3 to 10 billion Korean won in settlements from their contract with Interpark ending, because this includes money that Spotify streaming of Cupid got them. 50/50 didn't say anything, but Attrakt said that these claims were groundless. I don't know about that, because we have the saying in Spanish that says, cuando el río suena es porque piedras trae. Like, if there's a rumor, there's usually a reason.
So when Attrakt gets money, it would be the CEO of Attrakt and not HyunA or whatever his name
is. There is a 95% copyright situation. So, pero wait, there's more, which happened literally this week. Oh, girl, it's literally like, I'm telling you, 2 days ago. 2 days ago. Okay, let me preface this by saying, usually, fans are quick to say a company is shit and to send protest trucks and do all the things and have the artist back, usually. Yeah. Up until this point, once the Attrakt CEO started bringing out the receipts of the phone call and the text exchanges, because there were text exchanges between him and the Givers dude, because like he wanted to see the girls rehearsing, and the Givers dude would be like, no, the girls like don't act the same when you're around, like they're intimidated by you, so don't come see them. And all the communication with like the girls and the parents was managed by the Givers. So the point here is that the CEO actually has not had actual control of the group, because the Givers has not allowed that to happen. Xi'an has been the one running the entire operation. The girls haven't talked to the CEO in God knows how long. So whatever version of life they're living is what Xi'an is telling them and selling them, which is not great. So on the 17th, Dispatch, who always comes in handy with the dossiers and the exposés, revealed that Xi'an actually, you remember how I said that he transferred the copyright from the Swedish members to himself? Yeah, well, it turns out he forged the signatures of the 3 Swedish composers on official documents to transfer the copyrights from Cupid from them to himself. This man is a criminal.
So wait a second. All that money is not him?
Well, here's what's happening. Because of this expose, a little organization by the acronym of KOMCA, Korean Music Copyright Association, they, on July 18th, because of that report, they decided to withhold the royalties from 50/50 song Cupid due to the allegations that the copyrights have been illegally transferred. They also, at this point, because I'm telling you, usually everyone is quick to be like supporting the girls or the artists and like say fuck the company. The Korean Music Copyright Association has thrown their full support behind the CEO and is asking the girls to go back to Attrakt.
That is unheard of. That never happens. Oh my God. I became a T-Rex from the news. Like, oh my God. That's insane.
Guys, this is a lot.
Never happens.
This is like the Korean Music Copyright Association is there. Like the only time that us as fans hear about it is when our faves get credits added to it. And we're like, oh, the leaders and the youngest person with the most credit. That's the only time that we hear about them. For them to withhold the royalties, I think is the right thing 100% until things get solved. But for them to literally
publicly
throw support behind the CEO and like tell the group go back to the company, it's a lot. But the dispatch report was genuinely very damaging to HyunA, because it's not like dispatch like some tabloid person just sat there and was like, this signature looks different. No, they hired an expert in
they did
in whatever the science is called of like forgery detection. And they determined that the signatures were forged. And like when you see the signatures, we'll add this to our blog so you can see like the picture of the signatures side by side. Like HyunA didn't even try, girl. Like they are so obviously not the original. He didn't even try to forge them, which is like, baby, if you're gonna commit a crime, then commit it fully.
So the Korean copyright people, it's like a private, like the Grammys type of thing where people like apply or they get like they have members, right?
Yeah, you have to like become a member of them by being a songwriter or a producer or whatever role you have in a music making process.
So that means that all the board members or whoever manages them had to all come together and say, go with him. Like that's insane.
Yeah, because they don't make statements like every day. Like this isn't someone like this isn't an organization that is involved in like drama or tea like at all.
Whoa, that's insane.
So then that was on the 17th. On the 18th, the givers emphatically stated, we want to make it clear that we acquired the copyright for Cupid through the legitimate process. Yeah, right. Listen to me, HyunA. You did a shitty ass Crayola ass signature on a paper and you want to be like claiming legitimacy here. Like, no. Via our music publisher, we aim to eliminate any confusion and convey the objective facts. Yeah, alternative facts more like surrounding the copyright acquisition. And then there was an article, which it was funny because Laura sent it to me. When I saw it, I was like, this headline is like misleading, which was 50/50 is reportedly in danger of being blacklisted from the industry. And at first I was like, no, they're not. Like, you know, they're just like four random girls who are in this like whole thing. But then I did see a comment that I'm not going to read the whole thing because it's very, very long. But basically, it's supposedly from a Korean fan and it's a claim to international fans to not support 50/50 anymore. And they're throwing their full support behind the CEO. And in these articles, like people are literally saying like, I don't want to hear their voices anymore. Like Korean fans are tired of it. They feel like the girls have been completely ungrateful because when they were making claims about like working too much or having like health issues and not enough time to rest, like Korean fans are here with the receipts and they're like, you had 22 appearances in 7 months. How the fuck is that abuse? So they're calling them ungrateful. And they're saying like literally for any K-pop group, like your size and your age, you should be grateful that the company has done what they have done for you. And basically, yeah, the whole thing about them being blacklisted is possible. I think HyunA, like I said earlier, is banking on the ideal situation for him, I guess, is the courts rule in his favor. He takes over the management of the girls, either jointly with Warner Music Korea or by himself, which I'm guessing he wants by himself. But at least with Warner Music, there's a shit ton of money. He doesn't have to worry about money anymore. But he also can't do 95% credits to himself. So who knows? And he, like, after all this blows over, he's hoping to recover the reputations of the girls and pin everything on the CEO who, okay, my conclusion, because I don't know anything. I'm just a random person on the internet. I think no one here is fully innocent. Like, I'm not going to say the CEO is fully innocent. I'm not going to say the girls, because what it seems to be happening is the girls are being gaslit by HyunA, right? They're being told a number of things and they're being told to act in a number of ways, because how the hell are 4 girls going to convince their families to go to like file for trademarks for their groups unless they're being fed specific information. There's been stories about both the CEO and Xi'an selling their cars or selling things to be able to fund things for the company. So like both of them have an interest here in having like good PR and a good image.
Right.
We don't know. We won't know for now, but Attrakt, the givers, Xi'an, all of this is a lot. It's a mess. No one knows what's going to happen. I think after the Comca decision to hold the royalties for now, things are being reshuffled in the back end because yesterday, for the first time in over 2 months, 3 months, there wasn't any news about 50-50.
Yeah.
So who knows what's happening with them right now. And it's just very dirty. Very, very dirty. Very unfortunate because the songs like the EP hits. Like I actually like other songs other than Cupid from them. I did listen to them quite a bit when I got into Cupid. I went for the rest of the music because it was good and it was just 4 songs, I think. So yeah, royalties, Inner Park, billions, millions, Korean won, dollars, Warner Music Korea. This is like a cloud of words. And yeah, we'll see what happens if they can actually rehabilitate their reputation with the fans, because a lot of the fans are not fans of them anymore right now.
That is insane.
Yeah. For me personally, again, as far as I'm concerned, no one here is fully innocent, but I do think Xi'an's a piece of shit because once, like, let's say he was looking for the girl's best interest, right? And he's trying to look out for them. Why did he change Keena's credits from 6.5% to 0.5%? That is a huge fucking change. It's not like he was like, it's not like going from 6.5 to 6%. Like, he literally has 95% of the copyrights to Cupid right now because he cheated the Swedish writers and he cheated the girl that he's working with, and the other person that has 5% is another employee from the givers.
That's crazy.
So yeah, I think he's the literal actual devil. He's not good. I don't believe anything that comes from him or the givers. I don't believe in anything from anyone, but especially not from him.
Agreed.
So yeah, if you want to check all of the receipts from all of these conversations and all of these events, check out our blog. We will have the detailed timeline with links to all of the articles and all the news. And we will keep it updated, I guess, because it's an ongoing situation. So yeah, tell us whose side are you on?
Please.
Whose side are you on?
I want to know, because I have zero opinion right now. I'm just shook. Like, shook.
Listen, even after days of looking at this, all the news, it's very difficult to form a well-meaning, educated, unbiased opinion here when, like, literally, because there's more news literally for every single day of the week since May, but it was just like he said, she said. It's a lot of just throwing each other's shit around. So that was Attrakt.
So after that mess, we're going to be now talking about RBW. And compared to Attrakt, it's not crazy. So who is RBW? RBW was founded in 2010 as Rainbow Bridge Agency by Kim Joo-hoo, and then HyunA Entertainment was founded in 2012 with CEO Kim Do-hoon. The reason why they're 2 different companies is HyunA Entertainment, or WA Entertainment, was kind of together with Rainbow Bridge Agency. Rainbow Bridge Agency wasn't like an entertainment company. They just did content. So it wasn't like an entertainment company.
Gotcha.
So I just wanted to point this out because I thought it was super interesting. The CEO, Kim Do-hoon, is a Korean composer and producer who has worked with a lot of RBW artists, but has also worked with a little known group called BTS on their song Blood, Sweat, and Tears. So I thought that was super cool. Interesting. RBW stands for Rainbow Bridge World. And the RBW that we know now actually happened in 2015 when WA Entertainment and Rainbow Bridge Agency merged and became just one. So RBW is publicly traded as of November of 2021. And just to kind of bring in the arroz con mango from earlier, the Dreamers company owns about 2% of RBW. So honestly, so who are the artists under RBW? They currently have Mamamoo, Solar and Monbyo, Juanes, Purple Kiss, Cara, and Card. Some of these are under their subsidiaries, but it's basically just RBW.
Sure.
2 former artists would be Hwasa and Wien, because they're not with RBW anymore. RBW scandals, there's really not that much tea there, honestly. Most of the scandals for RBW are regarding their artists' questionable behavior. I'm looking at you, Mamamoo, and your blackface performance. And their most, I wouldn't call it interesting, but their most shocking scandal is regarding ONEUS. And this actually happened, I would say recently, back in October of last year, where Raven voluntarily left ONEUS, according to a post made by RBW on their official fan cafe. So basically, the scandal was that an ex-girlfriend of Raven alleged through a series of tweets that the idol was not only a serial cheater, but had essayed her on the first night they met, and that he made her pay for everything. Honestly, I don't see the last statement as being important compared to the 2 bombs that she dropped at the very beginning, but whatever. So initially, RBW responded by saying that they were looking into it. And then a couple days later, they said that Raven was going to go on hiatus while they continued to investigate, and that they would prosecute the alleged ex-girlfriend if the claims were proven to be false. So at this point, they're still pretty much standing with the artist. However, just 10 days later, they announced that Raven voluntarily had left the group, while claiming that there had been some false information and malicious editing of the post regarding him, and that they would unveil the accurate truths, which is kind of funny because truth is accurate. Like, why would you say accurate truth? Whatever.
Right.
On this through a lawsuit. So I didn't really want to go into the very many details about this scandal because some of the allegations are pretty heavy. We, like Kathy said, we will post everything to our blog. So if you want to look into it, you can. Just know that it's pretty gross and heavy things. In conclusion, I really don't know if it's true, if it's not true. I mean, the point is he did leave the group. Nobody has been convicted of anything. And actually, Raven posted under his birth name, because now he's going by his birth name, on Instagram earlier this year, kind of give an update on his life. And he's making music on YouTube and SoundCloud. So he's not like completely gone. So I don't know. In general, what matters is if you or a loved one is struggling with trauma or mental illness, you can reach out to the National Suicide and Crisis Lifeline or the National Sexual Assault Hotline. And I hope you're all safe because it's not a pretty world out there. With every scandal that I saw when I was researching all of these companies, it's never like black or white. And so I always tend to believe the victims until like proven otherwise. And there has been some back and forth between one of his other ex-girlfriends that was brought in by the first ex-girlfriend, who said it's not true, like she's lying. But with something like that, you won't know unless there's something criminal showed or whatever. So it's kind of like he said, she said. So it's just icky. Very. So moving on. RBW went public in November of 2021. And with that move, they've kind of been steadily trying to grow within the K-pop industry. They've done this with a series of acquisitions within the last couple of years. So in 2021, they acquired majority shares in WM Entertainment, which is home to Oh My Girl. They're not very big internationally, but they're pretty big in South Korea. And WM Entertainment became a subsidiary of RBW. In January of 2022, they purchased majority shares in DSP Media, which is home to Card. And DSP also became a subsidiary of RBW. And then just recently, they acquired Urban Works Media, which is a TV company, and Goodfellas, which is like a ballads company. So they're really trying to expand their portfolio to kind of give incentive to people to buy shares of their company.
Makes sense.
Like I mentioned earlier, Wien left RBW in 2021. However, she signed an expanded agreement until December of this year, which allows her to participate in some activities, including albums and concerts. And Hwasa left in June of literally last month for P Nation. And she actually announced this by signing her contract at the Summer Swag Festival because fun.
Why not?
And I wasn't able to find whether she had done something like Wien where she signed like an expanded agreement. I really hope so, because I really like Mamamoo as a group. I think the four girls are super talented and they work well together. So I'm hoping they can continue doing things together, but I couldn't find anything about it.
Well, on that note, it was crazy that the same day that she signed her contract with P Nation, the rumors of her relationship came out. So a lot of fans were basically saying like RBW leaked her relationship as a like payback or as being petty for her leaving the company. So doesn't seem, if that's the case, which feels like it could be, because if people are saying that this is a 5-year relationship, why now? Why that same day? Like clearly trying to put a damper on the relationship and her career, clearly, and making her less profitable for P Nation. Like fucked up on every regard. If it's true that they did that.
Super. And they just recently held, like July 16th, so last Sunday, they held their family concert where like all of the groups performed or whatever. Moonbyul and Solar were part of it, but obviously not Wien and Hwasa. And then just recently, maybe like yesterday or the day before, Kathy sent me a Instagram post where they kind of teased their newest trainee group called New ID, and that they would be performing in a family concert that's scheduled to be in Japan. So RBW in general seems to be like just your normal whatever company, you know, not too bad, not too great, just mid, in my opinion. That's pretty much a little bit on RBW. We really just wanted to cover it because they're home to Mamamoo and Card, which are two groups that we really love. Card recently went on Eric Nam's The Deadbox Show, and they were actually talking about the difference of their treatment with RBW
overseeing DSP.
Yeah. So it looks like, at least for them, it's going well. It might have just been that DSP was a total shithole and anything's better, but at least some of our faves are happy. So
yeah, it seems like more money's on the table for them, which is great, because that's really the only way to advance and the K-pop industry and the music industry in general.
100%.
Well, from RBW, we move to another small company that we just talked about briefly, which has a very big personality over it, and that is P Nation. Kind of a few of the companies here are all intertwined. Like you mentioned, the Dreamus connection between KQ and RBW. And we talked about now RBW with P Nation losing Hwasa to them. And then we'll mention people from P Nation about the company coming at the end. So it's all, like Laura said, big clusterfuck of arroz con mango, which just means, you know, not like the mango sticky rice from Thailand.
I was gonna say, it's crazy
it's not
how
that.
the cultures are like.
Cultures are very different. Yeah, in Latin America, arroz con mango means a mess. Like it's just like something you wouldn't mix. So anyway, P Nation. This is also very brief. P Nation is a South Korean entertainment company, record label, entertainment agency, and concert production company founded in 2018 by Psy after he left YG Entertainment. Their artists included, I'm going to just go through the list in chronological order. Their first artist that P Nation signed was Jessie. She signed in January of 2019, and she left in July of 2022 after her 3-year contract expired. Right after Jessie, the same month in 2019, HyunA and Dawn signed after they left Cube Entertainment. More on that later. And they were with P Nation until August of 2022, at which point Dawn went to Ad Area. And I don't believe HyunA has signed with anyone. And
No, we haven't found out.
There hasn't been any news about her signing with anyone. In 2019, in June, they also got Crush. In 2020, in September, they got Heja. In 2020, in December, Dark signed with P Nation, but he was only there until November 2021, so just under a year. And then in April of 2021, Penomico and Swings signed with P Nation. And then in May of 2022, the New Six, which is their idol group, debuted, formed through a survival show called Loud, which aired in 2021. And it was Psy with JYP. that did that show in conjunction. So TNX came from that. And then, like Laura just said, in 2023, now in June, and on the 30th, I believe, Hwasa signed officially with P Nation, which was, I guess, interesting because after losing Jesse, Hwasa and Psy have collaborated before, so it did seem like a good fit. And Hwasa was clearly unhappy at RBW, so we'll see what she can manage to do and release with P Nation. The controversies and scandals over at P Nation are, how do I describe them? I would say messy, and it's not a lot, and it's all kind of on the same topic for the most part. But yeah, it's a lot for having just been around for, barely 5 years. Yeah. So the scandals and controversies are as follows. In June of 2022, Psy's Summer Swag concerts came under fire before they even started happening because people were concerned that COVID tends to transmit more easily within like wet environments, and Summer Swag is a big wet party. So after 3 years of not having the festival due to COVID and stuff, it was coming back in 2022, but people were concerned about the rates of transmission because of all the wetness. So P Nation came out and said, guys, we got you. We're going to give everybody in attendance 3 masks to switch out during the day, and this whole like hygiene sanitizing kit. That was in June of 2022. They held the festival, and then P Nation went under investigation because of COVID transmission cases, because South Korea's Central Disaster and Safety Countermeasure Headquarters received multiple reports from people who claim to have contracted COVID-19 after attending a music concert that sprays water. So there's that. The concerns, again, had been brought up from before. They had said that they were going to take these measures, but the measures were clearly not enough. At the same time, around August, South Korea's Ministry of Employment and Labor investigated the death of a construction worker who happened to be a man from Mongolia in his 20s. I don't know that the nationality is a factor here, but I'm mentioning it because it was part of the story. So he was one of the crew who were dismantling a Psy Summer Swag concert set. And P Nation said that they would take measures to prevent this from happening again, and they paid for his funeral. The investigation revealed that his death was reportedly due to lack of proper safety equipment despite the inclement and rainy weather. So summer in Korea is very much like summer in Miami. Over here, it's hurricane season. Over there is monsoon season. Right now, we are seeing, if you follow in real time any of the South Korea accounts, a lot of accounts are posting floods and rain, and it's a very, like, this says inclement weather. So if they had a company working on dismantling a set during those times without the proper tools, it's extremely disheartening, unfortunate. I don't even have the words because a life was lost. So hopefully they're taking better care of that situation this year. I think the investigation had more to do with who hired the contractor company and what their relationship was, to see if P Nation had a lot of responsibility in the measures for safety or not. But that was kind of the end of that story, and Summer Swag happened again this year. Also, I know the writer's strike is on, so I'm not supposed to like promote this, but Summer Swag 2022 did get recorded for Disney Plus all around the world, and it is available on Hulu currently. I actually saw it a couple of weekends ago because I was writing a blog about how Disney Plus is in its K-pop era and all the Korean content that you can find on Disney Plus. But again, because of the writer's strike, not promoting anything, but I thought it was interesting that Summer Swag was one of the featured contents that Disney Plus worked on and is currently available on Hulu. So didn't hear it from me. Support the writer's strike, support the actor strike. And then in October of 2022, Psy is pretty fucking smart, I'm not gonna lie. He launched a NFT fan community, and it's called Society, but it's SO Psy, like Psy, his name, Eddie. So it's really funny how it's spelled, but I just thought that was really fucking clever. As a lover of words myself, I really enjoyed that little society situation. So NFTs, we know, are like literally over. Who wants them? Ew. And the whole like carbon footprint and the sustainability aspect. So we don't want them, but all that clearly outlined. But the perks of being part of this community included that owners would get priority selling for the future Psy events and concerts. And the fans did comment that at least the Psyger, like because he has like a furry avatar or whatever, at least the Psyger looks cute. And the description says that society uses Luniverse blockchain, which is supposedly zero carbon, so it doesn't actually have an impact on the environment negatively. Don't know if that's true. I can't really corroborate that for y'all because I'm not an NFT girly, but that's what the peeps are saying. Look at that and go figure out if you want to join it for yourself. And then, as I mentioned earlier during the RBW conversation, Hwasa's dating scandal, again, literally the same day that Hwasa signed with P Nation, the rumor mill started running wild with reports that Hwasa had been in a relationship for 5 years with a man 12 years their senior. But P Nation, I think, handled it well. Their statement said, "It is difficult to confirm details regarding the artist's personal life. We ask for your understanding." And that's all they had to say.
They pulled a YG.
They pulled a YG.
I love it.
And yeah, Psy clearly learned from his years at YG how to handle these scandals. So we are glad that they stuck by Hwasa's side. I mean, they really didn't have a choice. They literally signed the contract that same day. So I think for everybody's best interest, this was the best possible outcome. So, and then in recent developments, and this was the reason why I wanted to cover P Nation. Number one, also because I think they actually are genuinely a small company, so it was worth being covered. And also, Psy became Psy and like literally made K-pop a thing in the world with Gangnam Style. So I think it's admirable to see what he's done and taken from just himself to, you know, make a company. So in May of 2022, TNX, which is the New Six, which is the group that I mentioned before that launched from a survival show called Loud, TNX debuted with the EP Way Up and the single Move. That was May of 2022.
Stop.
January of 2023, P Nation announced through their official fan cafe that Junhyuk, a member of TNX, would be temporarily halting activities due to health concerns. This was just a month or less than a month before TNX came out with their second EP, which was called Love Never Dies, with the lead single Love or Die. Then in April or May, Junior actually came back on social media and Weaver's fan cafe and film content for their next comeback. And then in June, the company announced that he would also be sitting out of the current comeback that they had, which was called Boyhood, the EP, and the lead single was called Kick It For Now, because of continued anxiety treatment. So the reason I wanted to mention all this is because Junhyuk is my little boy bias. My little boy, I mean, like, I consider TNX my sons because I was there from the beginning of their debut. I was really interested in following a group from debut. So I really wanted to see it. And I thought Psy had like a different concept and a different situation in mind. So I was really excited with the New Six. I actually think their songs are pretty cute. Like they have an interesting range. They're not stuck in one sound. They've done kind of like a little bit of everything. I would say their style is kind of similar to TXT in that sense of like trying different genres and like doing the little rocker thing and the little heartbroken thing and the little like schoolboy thing. So I really like them. And I'm just hoping that Junhyuk is getting the care that he needs. I know for a small company, it may be hard to secure the right help, especially if it's something with like anxiety that is so debilitating and all that stuff. So if you struggle with anxiety, trust me, I do as well. I'm sure all of us have some level of it to one point or another. Junhyuk is on a really big stage and on a company that is relying on the group a lot. And so, yeah, I just wanted to mention that and hope that P Nation is doing everything they can to help him because the New Six needs 6 people to be the New Six. So
honestly, I really like their songs. Love or Die was in my no skips for
it
months.
really was. Yeah, it was.
Months.
I remember
So
that.
good.
And also just FYI, when the show Loud happened, there was a 7th member that was supposed to make it in, but he was literally 12. So he did not make the final cut for the group. Yeah, he is a little prodigy. And he's actually, I believe, Japanese. And he's amazing. He's incredible, but he's literally 12 years old. Like no one should debut at 12 years old, as good as you are.
So we are going to be talking about FNC Entertainment. The history part's going to be real brief because the meaty part is scandals. And the scandals are scandalizing. They are
scared.
Insane.
Trigger warnings.
Oh my God, from right now. Like skip this section if you want. So just really quickly, it was founded in 2006 by Han Sung-ho as FNC Music. For the first 6 years of existence, they only managed musicians. And it wasn't until 2012 where it changed its name to FNC Entertainment and it began broadening its like business. So just in 2021, they established 2 new labels, one for girl groups only, FNC FNCW,
Okay.
and one for trot, FNCB.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. Also, I just thought it was interesting that FNC, the name comes from that tale in the Bible where Jesus took 5 fish and fed it like a crowd. So I just thought ironic.
Really? It's from that? Wait, is it? It's 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish, isn't it?
Right. Yeah. So that's the CEO is really, really Christian. So he hoped that by putting this into the company name, it would kind of bring a lot of blessings into all of their business dealings. Currently, the artists under them are SF9, Cherry Bullet, which is under FNCW, P1 Harmony, FT Island, and CNBLUE. So formerly, which I thought this was really interesting because I didn't know, they had AoA, which is a girl group, and Ju Jae Suk, which is literally like the
The
king of
biggest
South
name in
Korea.
entertainment. Yeah.
Right. So he was there for a very long time.
And then he moved to Antenna from here.
Mm-hmm. So their controversies and scandals, like I said, are just
Gird your loins.
crazy.
I'm gonna gird my loins because I don't know the scandals. Laura's gonna teach me, and she's gonna take us all to church right now.
So I think I'm gonna start with the least scandally to the most, I guess. So the first one is kind of like P Nation dealing with COVID. So it was basically their alleged involvement with a religious sect. So rumors started spreading in the internet that FNC artists were part of a Christian sect that was reported as largely responsible for the outbreak of COVID-19 in Daegu.
I remember a lot of those stories in 2020, like the crazy religious sect people that were trying to spread COVID like on purpose.
Yeah, those
in South
people.
Korea.
Those people. So obviously FNC was like, no, none of our artists are involved with the sect, and we will take legal action to anyone that continues to spread these rumors. 2020 was crazy. That's all I can say. Like, weird. So that's kind of like not really a big deal, right?
Sure,
Moving
because
on.
they were innocent.
Right. Moving on. Unfair contracts. They're part of that group of girlies.
Not SM. Not again.
Yes.
Oh, man. Okay.
So in March 2017, the Korean Fair Trade Commission inspected 8 agencies. Aside from FNC, they also inspected JYP, YG, SM, DSP, and Cube. And they looked to correct 6 types of unfair contractual terms. So the ones that FNC had were they asked FNC to stop imposing excessive penalties on contract cancellations, which would be they were charging the trainees or idols 2 to 3 times the amount they invested in them. And another one was that they could cancel contracts for any ambiguous reasons. So they could say morality clauses were like a thing because they weren't being moral enough. So it made it really hard for the idols and the trainees to kind of fight against that because how can you, right?
No, you can't.
Right. FNC basically voluntarily accepted these changes, and that was the end of that, apparently. The reason why I chose FNC is because my son, Soul, is part of P1 Harmony, and I am truly concerned about my son's safety with FNC because slave contracts, a religious sect, like these rumors are, well, the unfair contracts isn't a rumor, and it's what I'm about to say sounds crazy, but this next scandal is part of the Burning Sun scandal, and the fact that it's not the last scandal says a lot, right? So for those of you who may not know, the Burning Sun scandal in South Korea was this huge scandal where a lot of entertainers were involved. And it was pretty much, if you were a woman, you weren't a person. You weren't even a thing. You were just nothing. Right. So CNBLUE, one of its members, Lee Jung-hyun, was caught in the Burning Sun scandal, where it first came with allegations that he had participated in viewing illicit videos and that he had inappropriate conversations degrading women. And this was like at the very beginning where this was all alleged. A couple days later, he actually came forward and admitted to his participations in the chat and that he did watch videos and said horrible things. This was all, the Burning Sun scandal was March. It wasn't until August that he left the group, which is basically 6 months later. This was 2019. So FNC basically said to the original allegations and to his subsequent confession that Jonghyun was in a period of reflection while fulfilling his enlistment. That was literally all they said. The reason why I think, and a lot of netizens think, that he left the group was because after he admitted to being a horrible human, right, he continued obviously to be a horrible human. So it wasn't until August of that year that a YouTuber released messages where he made some really gross and questionable comments to her, which brought up the fact that he was still in the group and nothing had really happened. So the company says, and he says, that it took him like a long time to leave the group because he was enlisted. But I don't know, like, it just doesn't sound, I think he was just hoping to kind of sweep it under the rug and continue doing his thing, because even after you're cut in such a big scandal, you're still sending disgusting messages to people, like, my guy.
And also, if you guys want to know more about the Burning Sun scandal, we went into as clean of detail possible in our YG episode, because it's truly disturbing, and it would require like hours and hours of just, being horrified. So we went into I don't want to call it palatable, but enough level of detail for you to know the gist of it without being disturbed in our YG episode. So you can check it out.
I researched that part and I had to take a break because it was too much. So the fact that his scandal isn't even the top scandal of FNC says a lot. And I think the only reason is because he didn't go to jail, but he's disgusting and I'm glad he is gone, because gross. Okay, so going from a Burning Sun scandal, we now move to what I think would be FNC's biggest scandal to date, and that has to do with AoA, their girl group, and it involves mainly two members, Jimin and Mina.
We want to add a trigger warning to this section, like specifically for like self-harm. If you're sensitive to literally anything regarding a person's mental health or their well-being, just skip the section.
So basically what happened was, in July of 2020, former member Mina posted a lengthy Instagram post under a screenshot of a text message she got from someone telling her to get lost, with like curses and stuff like that. In that post and in subsequent follow-up post, Mina detailed years of bullying by AoA leader Jimin. So basically, Mina says that she decided to speak out in 2020 because Jimin's dad passed away, and it kind of triggered like a memory for her, because when her dad passed away a couple years earlier, she alleged that she was bullied into working through it and was told at the time that she was lowering everyone's mood and to just kind of suck it up, buttercup, pretty much.
I don't think my eyes can bulge out of my face any harder.
Yeah.
And I remember part of this, like when we first started like getting in, like I remember the news about them, their names ring all the bells.
So Mina asked in one of the Instagram posts that she put was why she had to suffer from not even seeing her dad. She says that when her dad passed away, he was calling her name, but she couldn't make it to the hospital. And while this happened to her, Jimin was given time off to be with her dad, and her dad was provided a VIP room in a hospital. So this was kind of like the trigger event. That kind of made her speak out, she says. And she also goes on to detail how she's had to go through scar removal procedures from cutting her wrist due to all of the trauma and mental stress and illness that the bullying caused her. She did try to unalive herself a couple times, and that she didn't leave AoA because she wanted to pursue her acting career. She left it because of the bullying. she says. So this all happened in July. In August of that same year, FNC responded to Mina's statements, and they basically apologized to Mina for not managing AoA better and wished her a speedy recovery. They said they didn't respond immediately because they didn't want to create more sensation regarding this story. And they said that Mina's health was more important than publicly stating what was right or wrong about the events and situations. And they also said that Jimin had decided to leave the group on her own accord and that she wanted to retire from the entertainment industry. There's a twist. So in that same year, Dispatch got involved, released a series of texts and recorded conversations between Mina and the rest of the members, as well as Mina and the FNC managers. So basically, Mina went public in July, but as of April of 2020, she had already started to have this back and forth between her, Jimin, and the other members about everything that had happened to her. And they even had once she went public, they even had a group meeting where they talked about it and where Jimin apologized, and it's very, very messy. So in Dispatch reports, they released the series of texts between Jimin and Mina where they kind of talk about what's going on, and Mina harasses Jimin about what she did, and Jimin tries to apologize without apologizing. It's insane. They also released some conversations between Mina and the FNC managers because at this point, netizens were kind of turning a tide. They were kind of going, wait a second, is Mina actually the victim here? Basically, the manager said that Mina was often unprofessional and bratty, and so netizens speculated that the reason why Jimin had to confront her a lot was because of her horrible attitude. So they say, based on the Dispatch article, that because Mina was so bratty, the only way she would listen was when Jimin was harsh with her, because if she wasn't harsh, she wouldn't respond. So it's it kind of went full circle.
Total 180.
Right? And so I personally don't know who to believe and what actually happened. There's so many. It is true that Mina has scars on her body and that she had a very rough time because she has the receipts to prove it. Jimin might have tried to do the best by the group, but we won't know. The weird thing is that the group sort of backed up Mina's claims, but also when they met that day to talk it out, they didn't really shit on Jimin, right? You would think if they had seen somebody do that much bullying to someone in their group and that person actually has the courage to speak up, they would say, okay, we are not alone. Let's get this right. It was very much when in some of the conversations when Jimin was apologizing and saying that she would leave the group, the other members were like, no, you leaving the group won't solve anything. So it's very, very messy, very messy. If you guys want to see everything that Dispatch released, all of the Instagram posts that Mina released, we'll have them on our blog if you really want to go down that route. But it is insane. I personally just think that it's crazy that FNC let it get to this stage. They're managed by this company that literally, for the most part, entertainment companies don't let their idols even breathe without them knowing. So the fact that all of this happened, it's insane to me. What were they even fucking doing?
I don't think clearly they weren't doing anything. And I think it has to do a lot with that whole system of why K-pop has leaders to begin with. And it's the leader is supposed to act as a liaison between the company and the members. And they're supposed to solve problems and, work shit out on their own. So I think Jimin probably, I don't know anything about them or anything. So this is just conjecture, an assumption. Jimin may have been trying to handle things on her own in the wrong way and literally ended up setting off a member's mental health, or who knows, because maybe Mina was a problem all along. I don't know. We don't know.
Yeah. I honestly, I look through it and I still don't know. It's very weird.
But definitely FNC was wrong for not 100%, stepping in way sooner.
How can I trust them with my son?
You can't. You can't.
It's insane. If anyone's wondering, Jimin, who said that she wanted to retire from the entertainment industry, is fully back singing, and she was actually part of a rapper reality show, and people are kind of like cheering her on. She was actually earlier this year on a radio show with one of the members, or I think two of the members from AoA. So obviously they're
Not
still
the worst
talking.
person, or everyone is a bad person.
Right. So it's very, very weird. Very weird. But some of the things Mina was saying or alleging were insane. If you guys watch K-dramas, there's sometimes like in the school K-dramas, the bullying storyline where you're like, how the fuck is this even real? Or like when you're watching a Mexican telenovela when the bad person is like super bad and they do all these things and they call people escuincla and all that kind of stuff. It's like that. Like, I don't understand how people could do those things, like where that hatred and that horrible place comes from. So the things that she was alleging are really, really dark. But then the fact that she's fully back in the entertainment industry and everyone's cheering her on is just, I don't know, man. Gray. I knew FNC was going to have some scandals, but I didn't think it was going to be like this.
Not to this extent, yeah.
Because like you said, we heard about their names when we first started getting into K-pop, but I didn't really look into it. And now that I did, I wish I could take it back. Like, I know the world is an ugly place, but like, I don't think I needed to know that.
I know. I remember just seeing like the post from Dispatch where they were listing or like showing the screenshots from the conversations, and like the translations weren't really available, so I don't think we like looked into the detail of it at the time. We just knew shit was going down between them.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, it's a lot.
So I don't know how we can move on from that, but we're gonna have to. Just before we move on to the next company, just a couple of things. FNC artists are on Weavers as of 2021. You can find P1 Harmony, Cherry Bullet, CNBLUE on Weavers. I would like to note that SF9 is nowhere to be found. I don't know if it's because a lot of the members are enlisted, but it just feels like P1 Harmony has kind of taken priority over SF9 in terms of like boy groups, which like I get, they're younger, they're cuter, but also like I hope that once SF9 is mostly whole, they'll get the attention and the backing from FNC that they need, right?
Agreed.
And yeah, that's FNC for you.
Well, the last company that we're going to talk about today is the one that I wanted to shit on all along. I have hated Cube Entertainment with my whole body for years now. You could say for like not a lot of reason. Like in my body, in my heart of hearts, I just knew about them and I hated them. Like when Laura was trying to get me into K-pop throughout 2020, one of the first things that she told me about was HyunA and Dawn's scandal. And the fact that they were fired for being in love kind of thing had me just completely predisposed to Cube from the beginning. So that's kind of why I've always hated them. Like it started with that because I'm like, who could get in the way of love? This is before I knew about K-pop and the Lulus and fans and the lack of acceptance for relationships in K-pop, but still, fuck Cube. With that, let's talk about them. Brief history. Cube is a South Korean entertainment company, record label, talent agency, music production company, event management and concert production company, and a music publishing house. They were founded on August 29th of 2006, originally as PlayCube Inc. The founders include Hong Sung, aka Simon Hong, who was the former president of JYP Entertainment. Please note that. And Shin Jung-hwa, which is Monica Shin. Simon Hong left in April of 2020 over ownership disputes. BT dubs. In the artist department, we have a lot of formers when it comes to Cube and not as many currents. And for good reason. I won't go through the whole list. We'll just name a few. In 2009, they debuted 4 Minute, which was their first girl group, first K-pop group, which is where HyunA came out of. That group disbanded in 2016. In the same year, just a few months later, they debuted Beast, which is a boy group. They left Cube in 2016 altogether. Not altogether because they were 6 and now they're 4. But they left Cube while allegedly being 45% of their total revenue, like their total sales. Beast was huge for Cube. Yeah, almost 50%.
Holy shit.
Yeah. And then in 2017, they created their own company. They renamed and rebranded to Highlight. We actually
Oh
saw
my
them in
God.
person in South Korea. When we went to South Korea, we went to a music show taping, and the group that won the show was Highlight. It was only 3 of the members were there when we saw the show, but it's pretty cool.
Forgot that was their original name.
Yeah, that was them. In 2010, they debuted G.NA, which was their first solo artist, and a very notable scandal that they had coming up soon.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, as I mentioned earlier, HyunA started out in JYP as part of Wonder Girls. I was gonna say a joke of like she was there for 4 minutes, but she was there for 2 years. And then she started in 4 Minute in Cube. Rain was notably part of Cube Entertainment for a hot minute as well.
Word.
Dawn, his name was Dawn while he was promoting with Cube. He was part of Pentagon. And there's a bunch more people here, but the last 2 that I'll mention are CLC, which was a very well-liked girl group. And then Triple H was a subunit that HyunA formed with 2 members of Pentagon, which included Dawn and Hui. That's all the former list roster. Currently, they have B2B, who debuted in 2012. They have Che Yujin from CLC. She stays signed to Cube. She went and participated in Girls Planet 999 show, and now she's the leader of Kepler. So she went from CLC to Kepler. And then in October of 2016, Pentagon debuted. In 2017, Jo Kwon signed with Cube after 16 years being with JYP. In 2018, Yoo Sung-ho. In May of 2018, Idol, G-Idol for the uninitiated, but Idol for the girls who know. And then in June of 2021, they debuted Lightsum, which is the latest girl group that they have launched. Cube also manages several entertainers and actors, including Lee Hwi-jae, Ho Kyun-hwan, Park Mi-sun, Na Inu, and Kim Jin-woo, and Park Sun-young. Sorry for mispronouncing all of those names. Now, for the controversies and scandals, Laura already mentioned that Cube was one of the agencies that got looked at for their contracts and stuff. All of the scandals that I looked at here were specifically around their artists, because this is why I hate Cube again. So I just wanted to focus on this. So 2016, starting off strong, trigger warning, prostitution, starting out the scandals for Cube. G.NA, who was the solo artist that they launched, their first solo artist, she is a Canadian-Korean artist, very well loved, very successful. In 2016, she was accused of giving sexual favors to an unidentified businessman in exchange for around $30,000. The singer denied the accusations, explaining that she was under the impression that she was dating him for realsies, but obviously she was getting money in exchange. So she says that the person who had set them up was a friend who had lent her the money to help out with her financial situation. She pleaded that she had no idea about this friend actually being a broker for high-end prostitution. And the idol was ultimately charged with prostitution and had to pay a fine of around $1,600 for her actions. Following the scandal, she halted all activities and went on an undefined hiatus, which has lasted through this day. She actually posted on like January 1st of this year on her personal Instagram something about #StillAlive, don't give up. Yeah, so she still has a lot of support and a lot of fans that want her to do well and wanted her to kind of recover and come back, but that never really happened. And so that scandal basically killed her career.
I mean, in terms of scandals, if she did it with her own like consent, I mean,
it's not the worst thing I've ever heard, for sure. And if she needed the money or whatever, like,
you do you, man.
You know, but prostitution is a crime in South Korea. So in 2018, we have HyunA and Dawn, which is the scandal that I referred to at the beginning of this story. Their scandal is very long-winded. I will try to summarize as best as I can. But basically, on August 2nd of 2018, photos of HyunA with Dawn at their birthday party on June 4th were released. Cube Entertainment initially denied rumors of the two dating. However, HyunA and Dawn held an interview themselves, and they were like, yeah, we've been dating since 2016. We love each other.
And what about
wrong with that? And what about it? Period. And it was, cute, whatever. But this basically was a huge blow. By this point, 4Minute had already disbanded. They had disbanded since 2016. It's been 2 years. So but HyunA was still signed to Cube because she was one of their biggest money makers, and she had done so much for the company. She had the record of the fastest video to reach 100 million views as a solo artist for women. So, she was a really fucking big deal. So she was still signed to them. And she was at the time promoting with the Triple H subunit that she had with Dawn and with Hui from Pentagon. So again, they were supposed to have a fan meeting that same day, but because of the fucking press conference, Cube decided to halt all her activities and just like literally cancel her and Dawn. Around this point, this was August, Cube decided kind of to be like, we don't trust our artists, so we can't continue working with them, but also we're not going to fire them just yet. We're going to like take a little time to like decide what to do, because again, she was a huge moneymaker for them. So most of the fans at the time were outraged, and they basically wanted Dawn to leave Pentagon. That was like the most pressing matter and the thing that fans wanted the most. So basically, HyunA got tired of waiting for Cube to decide whether or not she was going to be in the company after having halted all of her activities. She basically gave him a deadline, and she put out a long, long letter once she got tired of waiting. And the letter said, firstly, when I was parting ways with JYP, I was on Chairman Hong's side. Again, remember how he was the president of JYP before founding Cube. Secondly, when there was a conflict between Chairman Hong and President Park Chung-min, I turned down President Park even when he tried to convince me, and stood on the side of Chairman Hong. Thirdly, after Cube went public, the only thing I've done is to do my best to help create the Cube that it has become today. I don't know how great of a crime I've committed, but since the beginning of September, all of my schedules have been canceled. Then on September 13th, I read the news of my removal, even though I could have been told in person. Every day is torture for me. For these past 2 months, it's been too difficult for me to wait. I ask that you give a response by the 15th. Then I would like for the contract to be canceled cleanly and gentlemanly. If I receive no response by then, I will go my way through a press conference on the basis of the facts that have occurred thus far. I ask once again, but I have done only my very best, deteriorating my health in order to sacrifice for the Cube that exists today. Despite my feelings, my image has hit rock bottom, and my reputation has been tarnished because of my removal from Cube. So she was rightfully pissed, gave them this deadline, and then they ended up coming to an agreement that she would be leaving the group. And then I believe in October, Dawn's contract was also terminated. So they both left Cube at the end of 2018, but wonderful timing by Psy creating P Nation. He ended up founding it in 2018, and then they both signed with P Nation in January of 2019 and created some good music while they were there. So glad that Psy came to the rescue, but Cube really fucked them up. And honestly, like the fact that she had to, say like she sacrificed her health for Cube and to make Cube what it was today. She dedicated to her company, and she just fucking fell in love. Like, what the actual fuck?
Literally. Like, it's so stupid.
The next scandal is with Lai Guanlin. He was a former Produce 101 contestant, former member of 101 as well, and current member of the duo Usok and Guanlin. And he's involved in an ongoing legal battle with Cube Entertainment, which began in 2019 when he requested that his exclusive contract with the agency be canceled. So his lawyer said on July 27, 2017, Lai Guanlin signed an exclusive contract with Cube Entertainment. Within just a few months, in January 2018, Cube sold Lai Guanlin management rights in China to a third-party agency. Through the transaction, Cube was given a sum that was dozens of times larger than the contract fee given to Lai Guanlin. Lai Guanlin and his parents were not consulted about this at all, so they weren't able to agree or disagree with the transaction. He also stated that Cube Entertainment agreed to conflicting schedules without Guanlin's consent that had caused his image to become damaged in the Chinese broadcast industry.
They sold someone.
They literally sold
a person. Allegedly? I don't know. Should we say allegedly?
Yeah, we should say allegedly, I guess. But yeah, they're disgusting, and that's insane. The second to last scandal happened in 2020 with Elkie. She was a member of CLC. She claims to have suffered both mistreatment and mismanagement. She said, the most extreme incident was when I couldn't sleep for several days and wasn't even able to remove my makeup. The longest time I've had dance practice was for 16 hours straight, from noon to late at night. I was so tired that I walked like a zombie. So that was one claim that that was about the mistreatment and everything. There was a second claim about how basically their songs were given to IZ*ONE at the time. At least one really good song that IZ*ONE blew up with, and then CLC got like the not great song, so they didn't blow up with that one. So she mentioned that the song and opportunity that had originally belonged to us were given to someone else, and the situation felt so helpless. The 7 of us worked really hard, but the agency took away our opportunities. I think the agency was too out of line. I feel so disappointed. And then lastly, so CLC fans know very well that like CLC started with like a cute concept, whatever. They weren't really able to stand out. Then they came back with like this rocker concept. They blew up. And then I believe it was around 2020, the company literally told CLC that they weren't going to promote them anymore as a group, and that they were not interested in spending any money on them as a group. And they were only interested in like basically solo work. So at that point, Elkie like decided to leave the company. And it's just fucking disgusting. Like, how do you train a group and like work with them, but then decide to not give a fuck about them? And that's because of obviously Idol success and their, you know, their growth. They had someone else to focus on, which is absolutely disgusting. So, oh, actually, we had 2 more scandals. It wasn't just one more.
Makes
so
sense.
Second to last, we have B2B Ilhun's marijuana charges. On December 31st, 2020, Cube Entertainment announced that Ilhun would be leaving B2B after being investigated for using marijuana. Ilhun was under investigation from the Seoul Metropolitan Police Agency for purchasing and using marijuana over the past 4 to 5 years, and was also charged for violating the Narcotics Control Act. He was accused of buying 133 million won worth of cannabis on 161 occasions between 2016 and 2019, together with 7 other people. They are known to have bought the drug with cryptocurrency. In June, the Seoul Central District Court sentenced him to 2 years in jail and ordered him to forfeit 133 million won. But he lodged an appeal and submitted more than 80 letters of apology. So he is no longer in jail, thankfully. But he did get forced to leave the group by Cube. And then the last scandal for Cube is in 2021, Soojin leaving Idol. So I think most of us, I mean, Laura and I remember very clearly when the onslaught of accusations for idols that were bullies came out in 2021. Soojin was one of the idols that was affected and accused. The thing with her is that, so basically one of her classmates, their little sister, was bullied by Soojin in school. And they had posted a bunch of accusations about how she defaced a classmate's coat with a marker. She had bad girl behavior, smoked, forced a friend to memorize a choreography for graduation, drank a lot of alcohol, rode a motorcycle. So like, you know, arguably things that are just like, okay, sure, you're not a perfect person. Like, what's new? And things that in the US, no one would have batted an eye with any of these accusations, other than like maybe fucking up someone's coat if it was like expensive fur or something. I don't know. But basically, like they put her on hiatus at the beginning of the accusations. And then there's an actress from a drama called High Kick Through the Roof. Her name is So Shin-ye. She claimed that she was actually also a victim of bullying. And even though she didn't name Soojin by name, fans put 2 and 2 together and they realized that it was about her. So at that point, once there's like a beloved actress and, you know, someone from the industry accusing her, Cube decided to drop her. Like at the beginning, Soojin only admitted to smoking and drinking alcohol. She denied everything else. And she maintains that she's never ridden a motorcycle, nor perpetrated any violence, mental, physical, or emotional. I know. Why does she have to say that she didn't ride a motorcycle? Like, who the fuck cares? There's bigger fish to fry, my guys. Really. But yeah, she said that she never inflicted any pain against her classmates. And then, so Cube initially provided a statement that refutes all accusations after an investigation was done. And then 5 months later, they dropped her from the group because that's Cube. That's the fucking Cube way. And there was no formal explanation.
Oh my God.
So the fandom obviously was pissed for mishandling the situation and not taking care of their talent. And a petition for bringing her back actually gathered over 160,000 signatures. So she was very well loved. That's the last like formal scandal. The other reason why I always hated Cube was because we saw a lot of Reddits and stuff like that about the profit distribution among companies. So, you know, when you see like SM, YG, like how they split the profits of what they do with their artists. So when I looked at this again now with fresh eyes, Cube does not have the worst rates, but they also don't have the best rates. They have something in the middle and it's just shit. So their contract years are 7 years. For physical sales, the agency gets 80%, the artist gets 20%. For physical sales renewed, the agency gets 70%, the artist gets 30%. For events, the agency gets 60%, the artist gets 40%. And then for overseas promotions, the agency gets 40% and the artist gets 60%. So if you wonder why artists do so much work abroad, usually it has to do with the fact that they get more money abroad than when they are in Korea. So the bottom line here, or the common thread behind most of the accusations and the stories and their scandals, is that Cube doesn't stand by their artists. And that's why I hate them. They literally are a terrible company who will not have your back, will not stand with you, will not stand for you, because you have to be fucking kidding me that HyunA and Don were dating for a full 2 years. And they were gonna act like they didn't know. Of course they fucking knew. They were just pissed that they like admitted to it on TV and they made them look stupid. So, they don't have the artist's best interests at heart as artists or as people. And that is why they suck.
If you look at content for Triple H, you could tell Huey, or however his name is said, I'm so sorry, was third wheeling in every single thing. Like, you can just tell, like,
literally.
It's so, I mean, obviously hindsight is 2020, but like, bro.
Yeah.
It was obvious. Like,
yeah. I feel like now that they have, Idol blown up as much as they have, this is their like golden child or their gold mine. So that's what they're really focused on.
Which is so funny to me because Idol has like a bad girl image.
Right.
And this member got kicked out for
like Sujin would have fucking ate during like Tomboy era. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me? But whatever. The most recent developments that we should mention for Cube is that I believe back in like November, December, Kakao Entertainment gave 80 billion Korean won to Cube. It's a lot of money. So, people love to throw around the word like monopoly for the whole like Hybe and SM situation. Bitch, look at Kakao Entertainment. Like, they have their hand in everything and everyone.
Yeah.
So, interesting development. Also, Cube partnered with 88 Rising for the latest Idol drop. So, Idol is about to actually release a full EP in English. And they have partnered with 88 Rising to do that. They dropped the first song called I Do, I believe on July 13th. I heard it. It didn't sound like Idol to me personally, but I don't know a lot of the discography, so maybe not a comment for me to make. I just, we're used to like their more fun bops, and that was not really a fun bop. But it's interesting to see this partnership because every label right now is partnering with a US or global big company to bring the talent like stateside, and them doing a full EP is huge. This is the first time that Cube has done this. So that's that. And then Pentagon's Hongsuk alluded to the group not being paid by Cube Entertainment. And so netizens have been sending, instead of protest trucks, flowers to demand better treatment of Cube for Pentagon. No words.
Okay with this. See, recently I watched a drama where Hongsuk was like, I think the second male lead. If you are a listener, I fucking live for a second male lead.
We do.
Like,
we do.
I love it. Guys, he's part of the big titty gang for what?
Yeah.
The disrespect. He's like actually delicious.
Yeah, he is.
Hino has been looking so amazing for what? He gave us Pose, and then what? He gave us a little bit of what we were missing while Temin was enlisted with Pose. Honestly.
Yes. He served cunt while Temin was away.
The disrespect.
Completely.
Disgusting.
Completely.
Also, Hongsuk actually had to stop his enlistment early because of really, really big mental health problems. Which, like, again, where's the support, my guys? Seriously? Pentagon has been with you for so long, and where's the support? Anyway.
It's ridiculous. So, conclusions on Cube. They suck, allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly.
Factually.
Yeah.
Spiritually, emotionally, and mentally, they suck. And yeah, that's basically why I have had a vendetta against them, and I'm really happy that I got to say my piece about Cube because I really have been wanting to for a while. You can again check all these stories with receipts on our blog and tell us what you think was like the worst story that you heard today.
And before we close, I just want to reiterate that whatever we said that is alleged is alleged.
Yes.
And please take everything with a grain of salt.
Yeah. At the end of the day,
we try to do our best, but
we're sharing information from, translated sites, it's not like the New York Times is reporting on any of this. So it's not coming from sources that are super like triple fact checked and stuff. So we are only at the end of the day doing the best we can with what we have. So maybe New York Times go report. Thank you.
Also, nobody sue us. Thank you.
Please. Please.
To close, we do want to share that even though this is our season finale, we have a bonus episode coming soon, and it's our long-awaited episode completely in Spanish.
En español.
So that's how we're choosing to celebrate Colombians' Independence Day,
Hell
which is
yeah.
today, 20 de julio. But that was, I guess, last week for you, but it's fine. So if you want to keep celebrating with us, we won't be mad.
Never.
Thank you so much for listening. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, guys. See you in season 4 or before with some bonus episodes, I guess. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the MIA2K Podcast. We have lots of great content coming up ahead, so please don't forget to follow and subscribe to our show on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. And if you enjoyed our episodes, please rate us 5 stars.
And for the real-time tea, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Facebook by searching for @MIA2K Podcast. Dale. Bye.